Hello, my name is AZZATRU and welcome to another Star Wars Battlefront news update video of mine, and in this video I'm going to be bringing you a roundup of all the information we have on playing with bots, instant action or offline modes, whatever you want to call it, in Star Wars Battlefront. This is a mode that a lot of people really do want in the game. It's a mode that we all played within Star Wars Battlefront 2 and the original Star Wars Battlefront game, and it isn't in the game currently, but DICE have been working on it for several months now, and I do have some tweets to prove that. This is basically recycling somewhat old information, but it's all across a bunch of different videos. Some people just want to hear about offline modes with bots, and I completely understand that. As someone that won't be using this feature if it was added into the game, I certainly hope that the large part of the community that want this really do get it, because at the end of the day, they're still playing the game with online features and they're putting up with it, and credit to them, and DICE know that this is what's wanted by the community. So we're going to kick things off with the January update that happened in January, and this actually included private matches, and people started to think that this was the beginning of offline with bots, but unfortunately it was not, and it was limited to a minimum of 4 players on a server. It was completely online. There was no ability to go offline with it. So you could choose your map and mode just like you can in multiplayer, and there was no AI as well. And the minimum amount is really annoying, because I was really planning on just going into the maps and using the cinematic tool to take some screenshots, but unfortunately that's not really possible because I don't actually have 3 friends. And it was a start. Private matches are getting spectator mode, they are upgrading them, but it isn't quite offline completely. So we're going to go to the start of February, when Dennis, who is the lead designer on Star Wars Battlefront, responded to a tweet. So a fan asked him, we really want offline multiplayer, and he said he doesn't have a date yet, but there have been promising developments in that area. Moving forward to February the 8th, and lead designer on Star Wars Battlefront Dennis, or Dice Firewall, was asked, when are we getting offline multiplayer? And he said, no date yet, but they have made promising developments. And people have been always asking, what are the difficulties with this? Because you've got AI in Fighter Squadron, you've got AI in missions, but because the game was built around mostly online, and it's a completely different, programming to go from just the offline missions that don't really do much in terms of, competitive multiplayer, because at the end of the day, these AI have got to mimic a real person's actions. They've got to do what a real person would do in multiplayer, and they are quite robotic, aren't they, in comparison to, say, how a player works, because essentially it is the computer processing it. So it's very, very difficult, because the game was not built around this to have this feature in, but they're working on it, and they can't promise it, and I'll be talking about that a little bit in detail later on. And another fan asked for split screen players to play online and offline with friends, and Dennis said it's very, very difficult, but they are still looking into offline modes. This is probably due to the fact that, this happened with Halo. Because of the graphics, they just can't do split screen online, and that is probably the reason behind the fact that you can't play split screen on Star Wars Battlefront online, especially to achieve that minimum of 30 frames per second on console, because if you remember, split screen already drags it down to 30 frames per second. Moving on to another tweet, he said that he is still investigating what they can do in the long run for offline modes. Moving on to promises. So Dennis stated that he can only promise things that they know they can deliver, and that's why he can't officially announce some things currently. And a fan responded with, is this why offline multiplayer modes versus bots are not promised? And Dennis said, yup, I cannot promise one thing and then say, yeah, sorry about that. So that is the reason behind why it's not ever been officially confirmed by EA themselves, because they don't want to say in a few months' time it's impossible, they can't do it, because like I said, there is technical limitations. Let's bring a bit of light-hearted humour into this a little bit more, because, it has been quite a bit of a downer knowing that it's quite possible we may not get offline modes. And if they do pull it off, it'll be a great achievement. But John Boyega, as everyone knows him as Finn in Star Wars The Force Awakens, asked last month saying, will fans get a full offline story mode? It's more of an enjoyable way to learn controls. He also went on to say that you really want to engage in the narrative rather than just play online. He used to play the older Battlefronts, basically just feeling the way that most of the Battlefront fanbase in terms of offline modes feels. And EA Star Wars did reply with some generic answers, and they are going to be sorting something out for him, because he did want to go and visit EA themselves. And to say one person who used to play the games, who's now in the films, really wants offline modes, it is saying something. And it just goes to show that they are still needed. And as someone that personally would not use offline multiplayer, I really hope you guys do that want it, do actually get it. And just quickly, Benjamin, who is a subscriber of mine, sent me a video, and it was actually of some gameplay of his, and he thought it may have been a bot in testing on multiplayer because the name tag is actually white, which is not what you'd get on any other, if you're an enemy, you're in the group, or you're their partner, you don't get that colour. But it was actually a network glitch, and that is the reason why the Stormtrooper has just stood there and then disappears, and that's why there is a gamer tag there. So it's disappointing that, it wasn't quite a bot in testing, but it was actually another person that disconnected. He couldn't really tell because he just quickly managed to capture that video. But anyway, that is all for this video. I really hope you enjoyed it. If you want to discuss anything on offline modes, let me know in the comment section below. And of course, if you did miss any of the 2 previous videos, be sure to check them out, and I shall see you all in my next Star Wars Battlefront video. Goodbye.